This week on Front End Fire, VS Code extensions are leaking code, apparently. We talk about the OpenClaw craze, and Deno has a new sandbox for AI. It's Front End Fire. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to Front End Fire, the weekly show that helps you stay up to date on the latest and the greatest in the front end world. I am your host, TJ Van Tol. I have Paige Niedringhouse with me.
Hey, everybody.
And Jack Harrington.
Hello.
And our OpenClaw agents are here with us here today. We've been, Jack and I have both been building those, and we're excited to talk about that a little bit and some other fun stuff.
My mind has been chasing and racing around on that one. Yeah.
So I want to get to that. So why don't we get into some news?
Yes.
All right, so we are going to talk about OpenClaw, but why don't we open up with some VS Code news? Paige, I hear we have more security issues.
Yes. So this actually was from one of our regular listeners, Chris. So hat tip to him for sharing this Medium article and kind of making me aware of it. But basically, there have been two VS Code AI assistant extensions that have been identified as basically reading and taking copies of people's files from their computers and sending them to a server in China without their consent.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And it's not just some files that you open, files that you actually ask the AI to complete with autocomplete or LLM, instructions or whatever. It is any file that is available on your computer. And it is 1.5 million people who have downloaded these two different extensions from the marketplace. And as of when this was written, so this was an article that was written by a company called Koi, which is KOI, which is doing all sorts of security tools and mitigation techniques and software probably to try and prevent this sort of thing. But they were the ones who identified the issue, figured out what was happening, and wrote up this really nice report on it. But they named it the Malicious Corgi Campaign. I cannot tell you why.
Everybody likes malicious corgis.
Right.
Yeah.
But the little article header, it's cute. It is a corgi that's stealing files, and yeah, it's worth going to check out just for that. But basically, there's two ChatGPT enabled extensions. One is ChatGPT and then some Chinese characters after it, and the other one is called ChatMoss and then in parentheses CodeMoss. So if you are a user of either one of those, please uninstall them immediately from your computer and do not add them to your VS Code. But basically, the problem is that they are AI coding assistants that actually work. They will actually do the things that you're asking them to do. And then in the background, as you're getting whatever you want, your autocomplete, your new code, what have you, they are also, they contain malicious spyware that can read any open file, encode the entire file in base64, send it to a web view that contains a hidden tracking iframe, and basically send it to China without your knowledge, consent, or anything else. So that's part one. Part two is that it does this for every single file edit. So as you're changing your code on your computer, it is tracking all of that. And the second part is that there is this is like serious. So the second part is that there is a server. Yeah. The second part is that there is a server involved that can remotely trigger mass file collection without user interaction. So basically, as soon as this is on your computer, they can reach in at any time and get whatever else is on your computer. So think of your .env files, your SSH keys, basically anything that you put on your computer as a, protected thing that you don't want anybody else to see or share on GitHub or just basically have for convenience. They can get all of that. And then the third thing is that they also have a web view that contains a hidden iframe that loads 4 commercial analytics SDKs, all Chinese-made SDKs for analytics that track user behavior, build identity profiles, fingerprint your devices, and monitor every single interaction.
Because why not?
So
This just keeps getting better. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they know.
I like they're
who
turning
you
you into
are.
a customer of this thing. They
Yeah,
want
they
your
know
user
who
you
you
want your
are.
customer behavior while they're exploiting
They
your
know
system.
which files are the most important to you. They know what kind of code you're editing that could be proprietary to your company, or government level clearance is required. There is a whole lot of stuff that all kind of rolled together is very dangerous to have.
Well, I think and Paige, I think this was one of your predictions for this year that we'd start seeing more and more of this type of stuff. But I think of this for the entire AI spectrum. And this came up when we were working with MCP servers at Blues, because we were developing our own MCP server. And we realized the data that we're getting from people is sometimes very sensitive data.
Yes.
So we're not doing anything because we don't really have, we have no real incentive or want to do anything with it. But the things that a malicious actor could do with an MCP server that got installed or got compromised in some position, because you're getting users' queries, oftentimes you're getting the context along with it. Sometimes, you're developing firmware or software or whatever. Sometimes you're also going to include keys and all sorts of stuff. And all this stuff we're just at the absolute frontier of this. And some of these tools get away with it because they're operating under the AI umbrella. So once they get installed, there's very little to protect them from accessing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And we're just installing these extensions like hotcakes. We can't get enough of them, as we're going to talk about in the near future with Claude Bot or Moltbook or whatever its current name is. And this is just these are just developers. As soon as this stuff gets more mainstream and other people start adding this, normies.
Yeah.
Watch out, world. This is going to get really bad really quickly.
That's why, do your due diligence when you're trying something out. If you're using some AI tool that you've not heard of before, even if it looks appealing for whatever reason, maybe show some care that it's put out by a publisher or somebody that you trust behind it. Because in this case, this one is actually named ChatGPT, which I feel like the Microsoft should not have allowed them to get away with that. This might be on Microsoft's extension marketplace for not catching this and letting some obvious fraudulent extension in. But in general, this has always been true of software forever, right? Whenever you're going to install something that has permissions, you should try to make sure it's somebody you trust and whatnot. But I think it's only becoming more true just because of the nature of what these AI tools have access to.
I have I got to re-add this thing. A OS X monitoring tool that gives you a full-on map and shows you where all your connections are going, which probably, could indicate where some data is going that you might not know about.
That's oftentimes how these things get caught, is somebody's just watching network activity off their computer, and if they see some stuff heading out that doesn't look like something they recognize, then you start digging to what's sending that out.
As I recall, this thing you could kind of basically fingerprint your normal activity, and then it's things that are just whoa, then ding, do you want to deny that? And you're like, yes, I do, actually. But I gotta say, you were talking about civilians getting picked up in this. I can only imagine in some data center, surveillance setting somewhere, the guy's looking at grandma as she's scrolling around trying to donate to her kids her preschool or whatever, and he's just click the button, just click that button. I don't know what data you're gonna get from those folks, but okay, if you want to surveil those folks, sure, go for it.
If they've got credit card numbers stored in plain text in a note file, right, that you can access, that's really what that's what a lot of these tools that get install access. They're looking for keys, they're looking for sensitive, they're looking for passwords.
Oh yeah,
stuff that'll get them access to stuff.
Oh, right. Oh, that reminds me. There's a 1Password extension that supposedly does better stuff with keys nowadays. So I need to get up on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, Bitwarden, which is what I use now, supports passkeys, which is pretty cool. So you don't
Yeah.
actually have to use your actual, passwords to unlock a lot of sites.
Well, this is like the transient stuff. When I'm testing like Tanstack AI, I need to have all these AI API keys, and then they need to be there when I run the tests and blah, 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 blah. But it's like if, spyware got on my machine, it would find those files like in a hurry and, whatever. But it's got to be in the environment, which, is tricky,
Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually is something interesting about this Deno stuff.
Yeah, that's a good transition because sandboxing AI is like the topic of the day. We did not plan this way, but Deno is back in the news for a new feature, Jack, that you were going to talk to us about.
Yeah, Deno Sandbox. So what is it allowing you to do, or your AI to do, is spin up one of these safe sandboxes to go and run code, and they've got a full SDK for this, and this is just out just recently. I don't know necessarily if this is going to be the kind of thing that any like front end developers like run. I gotta try this out right now. Make a Deno sandbox. But it's the kind of thing where it's like we're going to see some really cool features layering on top of this thing. And apparently, part of it is that they actually do this really cool. They monitor the SDK keys, and they actually like kind of proxy the SDK keys outside of the sandbox. So like the sandbox itself never actually has the keys; it just sort of references them. And then, so if you've got malicious code, it's just going to get these weird references that are meaningless to these SDK keys. So it's a cool way to be able to run potentially, helpful or maybe malicious code in a way where it's like, it's going to get access to whatever you threw into the sandbox, but nothing more. And in terms of, API keys, it won't even get that if there's stuff that it needs to do. So that's really cool. I'm really excited about this particular thing. I'm really excited just in general because the stuff Deno puts out is generally like really high quality and robust and well put together. So it's good to see. And I think having these kind of like safe sandboxes for JSTS, now that TS is apparently number one in GitHub, it is the biggest language in the world, like having a safe place to run it in a sandbox mode, which is something that Deno has always been really good about, is being security conscious, I think is great.
And to be clear, this is a sandbox that's in the cloud, right?
Yes,
so you are deploying this. So this is
Although
a play for
there's a way to run it locally too. We're kind of like digging up information. I pointed Claude at this, and we're sort of going through all the details as it is. But it's very exciting, and it's also incredibly fast to spin these things up. We're talking like 90 milliseconds to fire up one of these like VMs. Yeah, it's really quick.
Nice.
Yeah, and it looks like it's part of Deno deploy. So yeah, they're charging based off CPU time, memory, volume, standard hosting sort of stuff. So hopefully a play where they can get some better revenue coming in to support their project.
Yeah. I mean, this is a really good thing for Deno to be doing, though, because I've been reading so much recently about people in our industry who are building little tools for themselves, and they're just little HTML, JavaScript scripts a lot of times. So not having to have some sort of a sandbox environment already, or have ChatGPT or Claude make one for you, and just knowing that you can take whatever it gives you and put it into a Deno repo or something like that, where you have all of your tools and they're already kind of wrapped with sandboxes, would be awesome. I mean, that would make it even easier and give you a little bit more peace of mind that it's not going to do something outside, that it's not going to, leak out of its sandbox, I guess, into the rest of your machine.
Well, I'm going to ask a really dumb question then. What is the sandbox protecting you from that normally you would be exposed to? Because if I just put out, what's to stop, like if I just throw this, if I build a site or whatever and it's got an AI agent, what is Deno Sandbox protecting me against that, like just throwing it up on just some general VM on AWS or whatever wouldn't protect me from?
Yeah, where it's going in terms of network traffic, any API keys are hidden from it, so it's going to be able, to access, I guess, somehow that, but only transiently as it kind of goes through the the external layer that's actually going to do like the fetch or whatever is, I guess, going to like look for that placeholder and inject it or something. And then in terms of like files, you can just literally drop stuff into the sandbox that is specifically for that agent and nothing else. And then it's got access to just that and nothing else. And so, yeah, there you go. It's like complete control of the whole system around the agent, which is really cool.
Yeah, so it's like you're creating a direct access to the resources you need versus opening a more of a wide open integration.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really cool,
right.
And I'm excited to see more of it. I mean, there's definitely some competitors in this space. There is a Vercel sandbox. There's a Cloudflare sandbox. There's a bunch of these. But I do think that Deno has a real track record in this space of being very security conscious. So this is kind of, well, as the kids say, on brand for them to do this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
As the kids.
As the kids say.
As the kids say. Oh, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that leads into our last news story of the week quite well, which is OpenClaw.
Yes.
And OpenClaw has kind of taken the internet and social media and the software development world by storm, to the point where the repo behind this thing has, when I looked before we started recording this, 166,000 stars on GitHub. It's kind of been showing up absolutely everywhere. So we thought it was worth both playing with and talking about on this show. And so just to start with a little bit of background, so it was created by Peter Steinberger, and it was originally released under the name of Claude, C-L-A-W-D, and Claude Bot. And it was released last year in November, and it was a pun on Claude, as in Anthropic's Claude.
Right, yeah.
And as it started to get more popular, Anthropic's legal team apparently reached out to say, it might be great if you did not call it Claude, because it sounds exactly like our Claude. So they renamed it to Moltbot, and then apparently, according to their blog post, quote, it never quite rolled off the tongue. So shortly thereafter, they renamed it to OpenClaw, and they said they've done their homework. Trademark searches have come back clean, domains have been purchased, and whatnot. So hopefully this is the last name change for this tool, and it's a pretty good name. OpenClaw's, it's quite good. Their logo, if you haven't seen it before, is quite good. They've stuck to the the lobster, the claw branding. So that is quite cool. So what is it? This is a tool that, well, just as they describe it, is an open agent platform that runs on your machine and works from the chat apps you already use: WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Slack, Teams. Wherever you are, your AI assistant follows. Unlike SaaS assistants, where your data lives on someone else's servers, OpenClaw runs on what you choose: laptop, home lab, VPS, whatever, your infrastructure, your keys, your data. So Jack and I have both tried this out this week and played with it decently extensively. So what this thing actually is, just when you actually go to use it, it's first and foremost, it's a CLI-based tool. So you install it in Bash script, whatever, to get it running. It runs on Node and NPM, like a lot of other things. And it's essentially an agent that has shell access to your machine and then can connect to potentially all sorts of things. That's what this tool is probably best known for, is its connectors, because you can connect it to a lot of different stuff. So first and foremost, it is very cognizant of what it's doing is quite scary. So when you start it up, before you install it, it says, quote, running an AI agent with shell access on your machine is ... spicy.
Inherently, yeah.
There is no perfectly secure setup. So they warn you with like the biggest warning thing I've ever seen, and I've seen some pretty big ones, that what you're doing is very scary.
And they default it to no. They're like, you probably don't want to do this.
You have to very explicitly opt in.
Yeah.
And then you have to give it a key to an AI agent, and they recommend Claude, but they support some others as well. I think there are setups where people have where they've been trying to use this with local models like LLMs that actually work. on their machine. But I think the majority of people just get a Claude API key, plug it into this thing so that it's being backed. It is being backed by Claude. And then you start up a gateway. So a gateway is just basically the brains of OpenClaw that's just running all the time. It's just running on your computer. You can access the gateway at a local URL. So it'll give you like a local host at a port that you can go to. And if you go to that, you get just like a traditional chat interface. Like you just go back and forth with the agent. And it'll ask you to name your agent. So I thought that was really funny and really cute. So for mine, I was creating the front-end Fire assistant. And so I named my assistant Fire to see what Fire could do to help us with the logistics with running the show. But then it'll start from there to do the really fun stuff. It'll ask you to start connecting to things. So this is the point where you could connect it to chat. So if you wanted your agent if you wanted to be able to send WhatsApp messages to your agent and have it do things, you could do that. If you wanted to connect it to Discord, you can do that. If you want to connect it to Slack or Teams or whatever. And then you can also connect it to things like your email or other services you use. But in my case, I was just since I was creating the front-end Fire assistant, I just showed it where the files were on my computer for the front-end Fire website. And once it knew that, I could just start asking it things like, I want this feature or whatever.
Yep.
And it would just go.
Yeah.
And because it knew everything about my setup, it was able to leverage my Git, which it's equally cool and scary, I think, simultaneously. And so I'm curious to see where you landed on this, Jack, but for me, after playing with this for a day or two, I decided that I wasn't at the point where I was comfortable keeping running this thing on my main work computer that I do everything else on. And so I still want to continue with this because I think there's and this is a show where we've been pretty harsh on AI agents as being kind of silly, but this one is the first one that I thought was actually genuinely kind of cool and something there. So I want to keep playing with this, but on a completely like isolated. That's why it's funny. This show is about like isolated AI environments because I kind of want to tone back the access this thing has because I mean, I was thinking about like, I could put this in a Discord and do some fun things, but I was like, if I put this on a Discord bot, I'm giving this bot access to my entire file system. And that just seems,
Well, I see.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, I've been talking for a long time. Jack, I'm curious because I know you played with this as well, what your experience has been like.
Yeah, it's funny. I started off by putting it on my laptop and it was like, okay, I didn't connect it to my email. I did connect it to Discord because I was like, I use Discord really for all my DM stuff as my matter of preference. Not AV. I hate AV on Discord, but whatever. Talking to it on Discord is actually really cool. Talking to it on the web, there was like a nice like web interface. If you didn't want to use the TUI, so that was cool. And I put it aside because I was like, oh, okay, because at the end of the day, I kind of find the idea of like a personal assistant like a little old fashioned. It's like you don't really meet many people below the level of like a VP or a CEO or a big company who actually have a live personal assistant, right? Anymore. It's not. It used to be like maybe the 1950s it was a thing, but now it's like, who has that, right? And I've architected my life around not having a personal assistant, so I don't need that kind of stuff. I don't need something rummaging through my emails or any of that. It's just not a thing. Like coordinating my schedule, just whatever, So. I didn't see any value there, but like a month ago, I was talking to Claude. And I'm like, hey man, like I need to spec out an app where I can like monitor, RSS feeds and blah 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 blah, and all these sources, Reddit and all that to look for like front end trends. Like it's just a thing. Like for front end Fire, for the channel and all that, and so we spec'd out a whole thing, and then OpenClaw came into the radar, and I was like, oh, well, let's just do OpenClaw for that, and it got like pretty close. And so every morning I get like a full on like briefing about like the state of play in the front end world, which is like really cool. And I'm like, okay, I've had this weird, like, I didn't think much of it. And now I'm like, ooh, this could be really cool. So now it's going to be like, Okay, I
Mhm.
need to add a few more data sources to this to get it interesting, add some persistence, blah, blah, blah. And, probably going to connect it with you guys so you can like ask the thing, because there's a lot of like follow-on questions you would have, like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's a cool article. Like, well, talk to me
Yeah.
about that one. You want to have those kind of conversations. So getting there, I think, is cool. But yeah, and anyway, so I put it on my own like personal like home lab, is what people are calling it. It's just my NAS. And I just have like a virtual station where I set up Ubuntu and then dropped it on there, and it seems, happy as a lobster on that thing. And I mean, I might add some other persistent agents on there. It did get me hooked up with the DNS or the VPN that everybody's using now, Tailscale. Like,
Tailscale.
it finally got me on Tailscale, which I'm
Hmm.
super happy about. So that's great. Yeah, no, just like lots of cool stuff. And the really neat thing about it is it helps you in the text UI like configure itself. It's like I can
Hmm.
ask it like,
That's
hey,
yeah,
is
that's
it
actually
is Discord set up properly? And it's like, nah, you have to do this still, blah 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 blah. And you're like, oh, that's freaking cool. It's like, that's nice. Yeah. So
that's the biggest thing that got me too.
yeah,
I didn't use the docs once I got it installed. I would just
yeah,
talk to it and
exactly.
it would tell me what to do, and that
Yeah,
kind of blew my mind a little bit.
yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So
So
I'm cool with it.
yeah, so I haven't installed it because I am reticent to give bots access to my life. That's just kind of my general stance in a lot of things. But I have been reading a whole lot of articles about it, about people who've done it for 2, 3 weeks, about different, just different experiences with it. And again, our listener Chris shared this great article that some guy had written on Medium about it, about using it for 3 weeks. He gave it read access to his email. He gave it read access to his calendar. He gave it read access to his machine. And he kind of just got an experience for how it wanted to help. Like, it would identify meeting calendar invites that were overlapping. So one needed to be rescheduled so that it wouldn't collide with another. And it identified simple email responses for emails that this guy had not responded to in 3 or 4 days. And he'd gotten like hey, have you had a chance to look at
Are
this
you
kind of,
alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, follow
Yeah,
up
yeah.
email. So, and it had like very simple responses that it wanted to draft that would say, hey, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. Let's meet or let's talk on this day next week or whatever. So he definitely saw how you could very easily slip into giving it more access to send simple emails like that, or reschedule simple meetings, or even reorganize your hard drive or your file system so it makes more sense. But at the same time, he identified, I think, what a lot of us kind of get stuck on, which is that level of trust that we do not have for AI agents.
Yeah.
Which is, because there's no way right now, there's no kill switches if something goes wrong. There's no way to roll back if they do something to your machine that you actually don't want them to do. There's no way to recall emails that they've sent or meetings that they've rescheduled or things that they've done without your knowledge if you give them free rein to actually write and send and search and do these things. And that's kind of, I think, what a lot of people, and like TJ, you kind of got the heebie-jeebies from, and then is just like, there's no more granular level for us to give them some access and have them be useful, but not give them all access and still have them be useful, and like kind of build up that level of trust until we feel comfortable giving them higher levels of access. And I don't know how we're going to do that. I think everybody's trying to figure that out right now. But if we can, that's like the next thing, is that if you can put safety guardrails that actually work and different levels of access or granular levels where it's like, you cannot email my mother or you cannot email my boss. You do not get to auto respond to those. But, somebody that's a first time emailer or somebody I've never seen before, they have a simple question, sure, you can do that. But it's like those levels of granular access are not there, and that kind of seems like the next big thing that we need to figure out if we're going to make these things useful but not irreversible, I guess.
I think that's where we're headed to. I will say that I think part of the reason why OpenClaw has been so successful is that it's the first of these tools that I can think of that really just said, what if one of these tools could do all of this stuff? Because a lot of these, like if you're using Claude Code asks you permission anytime you try to step outside the bounds. It really tries to protect you in a certain way. OpenClaw, generally speaking, does not. It is just kind of wide open. And in that way, it's kind of an interesting experiment. I think it might help push us towards a world where we have kind of configurability so you can kind of have more granularity in terms of what you want these tools. Because I think we do, as much as we want control, we do feel restricted when AI tools are constantly asking us, like, yes, you can CD into that directory. Like, just come on, just get it. Just
get her done.
This is like,
get her done.
Yeah. So this is like the opposite reaction to that. It's like, what if we just let you do just about anything?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think long term, we will get to that point where these things will have more control over it, but we're not there yet. So I think that article is hitting on something pretty important because we don't have that ability to say like, well, you can read my emails and you can send emails to certain people and you can pre-draft emails to other people, but you'd always ask my permission before. And like, I do think we have tools there because of all the investment going into the AI world. There's, Cloudflare is already building blog posting about the stuff they do with OpenClaw. This goes in with the entire episode, right? Like everybody's building these sandboxing tools. The market's headed this way. Yeah. This whole world moves so fast though, that it's kind of just being built as we're talking about it.
And it's funny that, I mean, we are definitely on the cutting edge of all of this, right? Like, I don't talk to any other civvies who even, like, some of them sometimes have, like,
Did you say civvies?
Yes, civilians,
Normies?
whatever. Normies, civilians, muggles, whatever you want to say. I don't know. But anyway, like, they're all like, yeah, man, Siri sucks, or like ChatGPT. Some may have, like, some of the kids may have like a ChatGPT that they have a relationship with or something like that. Yeah, man, like it's the coders and the dev folks who are like way at the front edge of this stuff and doing crazy stuff. And we're gonna like set the patterns and then somebody's gonna eventually productize this all the way back to, the email client that like is the smart email client that has like, don't say the F-bomb in, emails to mom kind of thing, whatever it is, right? Yeah.
It is wild how small and insular this community of people actually using AI tools is. Because I've had the exact same conversation with friends who are just in different industries, or parents, or just relations in the family, and who are outside of this, and they're not using ChatGPT for anything. They didn't know ChatGPT even has an app or like a voice interface that you can use to chat with it while you're driving or doing something else. Like, they're just
and they largely have a negative sentiment also towards these tools.
My wife hates it. And it's based on Siri, I think, really, at the end of the day. Like, Siri sucks, therefore all AI sucks. It's like, Siri's like 15 years old.
Right. But the things that we're doing and like how much hype and just constant talk there is about it here and what people are doing has not filtered out to the broader world by any means. Like, people are just totally unaware of what's happening. If you're not somehow remotely adjacent to the tech industry, you just have no clue that any of this is going on, and you don't care. Your life is still fine without it. Yeah. You don't need it, and you're getting along.
Yeah. If anything, it's like, layoffs are happening because of AI. It's like, I'm not sure that's actually. I know layoffs are happening. I know AI is happening. I don't know if,
You're asking if my job is still in danger because I'm a developer and AI is coming for it.
Yeah, and my job is on turbocharge because I have AI. And it's like, I just like walk into a room and say, hey, Claude, go make me an app. And it just does it. It's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I do have some recommendations for people with OpenClaw. I would say, if you're motivated to try it, that's great. If not, this isn't something you necessarily need to be jumping on. You're not like falling behind if you're not trying this. I will say though, if you are interested in this, if this caught your interest or whatever the case may be, I would try as best as you can to run it in some sort of isolated environment. Like if you have an old laptop laying around, some old piece of hardware, maybe if you're better at like cloud infrastructure than I am, maybe you could set up something like Tailscale or some sort of VPS for doing this in an isolated environment. And also, if you have accounts that aren't like your personal important accounts, that's kind of why I wanted to start out by doing this for the podcast, because for our podcast, we have a Google, we have a Gmail address, we have some other accounts just that are necessary for running a podcast, but that gives me some things that I can toy with without like exposing this to my personal Gmail. So if you have a similar situation like that, that can be a fun way to kind of experiment, because honestly, I will say I had fun this week playing with this. And I mean, that's part of why I'm a software developer, is I like tinkering with stuff like this. So if that's you, and there's a decent chance that is you, if you're taking time to listen to a front-end development podcast, this can be a lot of fun for you. Just, try to find a nice isolated way to experiment.
I did have fun talking to Claude about OpenClaw. And it looked at all of it, and it's like, I'm like, come on, what's the value prop here? And it's like, there's 3 different scenarios, and one was a person who actually wanted a personal assistant, and we both kind of call BS on that, because like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. But tinkerers, and it's like, well, that's the category that you fall into, big guy, is tinkerer. And that's totally, but at the end of the day, I do think I found a decent use for this thing, which is like mining articles and doing research for me. And I'm guessing that over time, it's just going to kind of metastasize from there. It's going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to hook this onto my Home Assistant, and then I'm going to do some stuff with it, and, things like that. Yeah.
From the little bit of other people that I've listened to who are using it, who are in the tech industry, home automation seems to be a very popular one for using it, to be able to hook up all of your connected devices in your house and be able to say lights on in the front hall, or lights off, it's bedtime, or things like that. Or we're coming home, 15 minutes out from home, turn on the lights and, up the thermostat or whatever. In terms of like separating it though, Mac minis are impossible to find. So lots of people are trying to buy Mac minis to either put their own LLMs on, so that you don't have to pay Anthropic or OpenAI for continuous API usage, or to just have it on a sandbox, like TJ was saying, a separate computer, a separate device. And then when I was looking into it earlier this week, I saw things from DigitalOcean for how to put it onto a DigitalOcean droplet, is another. Yeah, okay. I know they're still around, amazingly. But even they have jumped on the bandwagon and are ready and willing to host your OpenClaw agent. So if you just have a hosting platform that you prefer, or you're looking to put it on one, I mean, anything with Googling like hosting OpenClaw, you'll find it. So there are a lot of ways to do it in a slightly less all on your machine way, if that is something that you want to play with and try out.
I am putting Ubuntu on an old MacBook, which is something I never thought I would do, but AI is giving me this weird confidence to go into this uncharted territory, because I talked to Claude, and Claude's like,
and it's like, oh yeah, you should, and you're like, oh okay, cool, I'll just do that then.
Try
and it's
it.
Like, yeah, sure, try it.
Because this is a MacBook that I wasn't using, but it's like 10 years old. And so when I started it back up, there was certain stuff I just couldn't install, like important stuff, like the latest Node doesn't run on old Macs, for example. And that's kind of a big deal.
It's going to run like a cut cat on a Ubuntu. It's going to be great. Yeah, exactly.
So I was talking, it's like, well, you could just throw Ubuntu on this thing. And I went, you know what? Before that always scared me, but with Claude as my pal, I think we can get it done. So I'll report back on that next week.
Nice.
And dude, seriously, like Tailscale is not that hard to set up. I literally I think we were watching, I don't know. We were watching Sneakers again last night. Fantastic movie, by the way. And, and then I set up Tailscale, and it was like, dude, I want this on everything. This Tailscale is the bomb, because you can get access to everything.
Tell us a little bit about Tailscale for those of us who haven't used it yet, Jack, because I've been hearing about it, but I haven't actually researched it at all.
So it's like a free VPN that really integrates with your, you get to make a virtual network out of anything, right? So you can go, I'm putting my NAS on there, I'm putting my, and I got my phone on it. And so once I like VPN into Tailscale, then all of my devices are literally just like some HTTPS short name into, my network, right? So I've got, OpenClaw as, like a virtual machine sitting on my NAS, and it's got its own IP. But so I it's like I've got this like integrated network, and it shows you like a network map, and it does all this magic DNS stuff to automatically give you, basically kind of like a bonjour, but for your network and your devices, and it is free and super easy to set up, and it works on like Linux, Android phones, iOS, Mac OS, all anything you want to have, it's going to be fine. And if you get your Raspberry Pi or whatever, that's going to be running some sort of Linux distro, so that'll work on that. And yeah, it's great.
So how does Tailscale make money? Are they a company?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a great question. Let me throw that over to Claude.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of it. I can see benefits for it, especially like because from what I've heard before from other people is like Tailscale, you can access it when you're outside of your own home network.
Yeah,
like if you're
exactly.
traveling, you can still get back to your home computer, your Plex server, or your OpenClaw or whatever. So I'm wondering if that would be useful for like having on my parents' computers so that I can then update them with regular, Windows updates or, check their security or fix their thing when it's not running correctly. And like, if Tailscale would help me to do that.
I think it will. So according to Mr. Claude, it's a freemium model, but so they're basically using enterprise/team big accounts to offset the cost of the free stuff. So if you want like access control and SSO and and that kind of stuff, then you pay. But all of us, we don't need that.
Right.
Just like so you can have you could have a Tailscale network that included your mom and her Windows. Her ancient Windows 90.
My God,
NT
every time,
or whatever the heck it is.
Every time we go visit, and it's like my parents, my husband's parents, whatever. Something is not working. It's out of date. It needs an upgrade to its OS system or whatever. So that's always just like part of the visit is a day spent upgrading devices and fixing whatever's not working. So. Yeah, being able to do that on a rolling basis, like a quarterly checkup, just to make sure things are okay, might be really good.
Yeah, I remember having to go and like my stepfather or whatever, and like he had like 3 different firewalls installed in his machine. I'm like, it's amazing you can do anything. Like, what is this stuff? Like, it's terrible. But yeah, Windows just kind of exacerbates that because it's like it's just inherently a terrible operating system and it's never going to get fixed. So there you go.
Is throwing Windows catching.
Dude, I have one Windows machine in my house. It is specific. It sits on top of my CNC and it drives the CNC. That is all it ever does. And of course, every time I open it up, it's like, "What do you like a system update?" And I was like, "No, I don't care." It's like, "No, you have to have a system update." Like, it's terrible.
Well. All right. Well, in an attempt to bring this podcast back on the rails, we have one lightning news. We've been taking a while, so we're going to make this very lightning-y.
I have one lightning too.
Okay. So we have 2 quick lightning newses. The first one is that more Gemini features are coming to Chrome, just what everybody wanted. But apparently, and this is not live yet, at least it's not live in my Chrome, but in upcoming versions, Chrome is going to be adding a little plus icon to the top right of the browser. And that will open, what do you know, a little sidebar for interacting with Gemini in a way that can access your tabs in a way that's just like every AI browser is apparently doing now. Apparently, that's all we want is we We really well, no,
sidebars.
Firefox has it's a little bit different, but they have a little AI sidebar now too. It's just
you can opt out, or you have to opt in, or something like that, right?
yeah, you can opt out of Firefox's, and it's kind of, Firefox is just kind of like a window to ChatGPT. Really, it's not like these ones that the AI browsers are doing, and now Gemini is doing in Chrome apparently, is done in a way that it has access to the content of your tabs, and you can ask it. If you have a premium Gemini feature, you can do browser control type of stuff where you ask Chrome to like do something for you in an automated way. So that's coming as well. And, it's just, I bring it up here because I think it's interesting, but it's just Chrome jumping on the bandwagon of doing what a lot of these other AI browsers are doing. There doesn't seem to be anything here that's unique, but it is adding these features to the world's most popular browser. So this isn't like an experiment that Perplexity is running or anything like that. This is a feature they're rolling out to, billions of people. So it'll be interesting to see what that actually looks like when it's out. And apparently it's coming in the near future.
There you go. And Gemini's a good model.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And then, Jack, you had one quick piece of news.
Yeah, I don't know if folks knew about this, but Apple has OS X now in the latest version of the operating system has a new container standard called Apple Containers to kind of compete with Docker instances. So you can run like a lightweight Linux VM, using this Apple Container setup. So go and Google around for Apple Container. Go check that out. And there's some new stuff that's coming out on top. You can leverage Apple Containers for these small little Linux, inside of your OS X machine. There you go. You got your potentially that's might run OpenClaw in there.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I was going to say more isolated environments. That's like that's our whole show. All right, very cool though. That's interesting. Docker has become just the standard for doing this sort of stuff for so long. It's kind of interesting to see somebody else playing in this space.
Mm-hmm.
All right, why don't we talk about what's making us happy?
Yeah.
Jack, what's making you happy this week? Yeah, Sneakers, actually. It was a movie from 1992. Has just a crazy cast, like Robert Redford, Ben Kingsley, River Phoenix, this like Dan Aykroyd, like this crazy, list of people who are in this movie. And it's kind of a heist movie / tech movie. But it's actually kind of topical because like now we're talking about like quantum computing actually breaking cryptography for everyone. This was that plot line. Basically this high-end mathematician had like cracked, some magic formula that gave them access to, all any encryption algorithm anywhere. And of course, it's all the visualization of it is ridiculous. They log into, like the central bank and they hit a little thing. And the next thing it's like it goes from like crazy characters to like looking good, being like, hey, what do you want to go and, withdraw from here and deposit in there? And you're like, that's not how any of that would look. But it's a good movie. It's if you're in the Bay Area, there's a lot of like Bay Area kind of references in there, and so it's fun, and I love the combination of tech and heist. So yeah, it was great to watch that at one again.
I've heard of this movie. I have never seen it, so
maybe I have check it out. Yeah,
I don't think I have either.
Oh, it's a good one. It was kind of I saw it just on Twitter. Somebody was like, criminally underappreciated movies kind of thing, and it was like Sneakers. I'm like, yeah, man, Sneakers. It's unappreciated for what it was.
Cool. Paige, what is making you happy this week?
Claude Code is making me happy this week. And I will say that I have undertaken what every developer does every 2 to 3 years, which I decided I didn't like my personal website anymore. And it was time for a refresh and an upgrade.
Yep.
And my website, I made a bad tech decision when I built it. It was built on Gatsby. Gatsby has since pretty much disappeared, although I did see that Gatsby 5.16 came out this week, so it's not as dead as I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, for all intents and purposes, it is dead. And it was way overkill for what I needed to, because my website is very much just a static site. It's where all my blog posts live. I have links to like our podcast and shows that I've hosted and stuff like that, but it doesn't need tons of interactivity. It's not doing lots of data fetching. There is no back end for it, really. It's just markdown files and MDX files and stuff like that. So I pulled up Claude earlier this week and I said, Claude, we need to do two things. We need to make a plan to migrate this from Gatsby 3, which is what it is currently, to Astro 5.
All right. I was wondering.
And,
okay.
And I want to completely redo the site design because it's getting kind of cluttered. It's hard to read. Like what I'm interested in or working on has changed. So we need to kind of like update the look and feel and everything else too. And within, I would say, an actual working day, so like 8+ hours or so, it has migrated it completely off of Gatsby into Astro. Everything still works. All the MDX and MD files are where they need to be. Like the site is live right now. It doesn't look fantastic, but it is live and it looks different. And it says that it's in migration or, redesign underway or whatever. So, what would have probably taken me, I don't know, a month or two, maybe just because I don't know Astro, haven't worked with it before, would have had to figure out like what their components look like, how they slot different data sources in, all that stuff. Claude did it. Claude did it great.
Taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Claude's ready to do the refresh, the visual redesign. Like it has a plan for that as well. And we've just got a markdown file of like all the things Claude is going to plan to do. And wow, just blown away so far.
I might need to take some inspiration from this because I've been meaning to get my site off of Jekyll for many, 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 many years. And so I vibe coded a slight redesign to my website and I wasn't super happy with that, but I think now in the Claude Code era, it's time to take another pass at that.
The only thing I will say that I kind of did to try and get Claude going in the right direction was I gave it some websites of people that I admire.
Yeah,
so I gave it like Adam Argyle's site, Josh Como's site, Una Kravitz, a couple others who are just, I love their site layouts. They're beautiful, they're modern, they're nice just in every way. And I was like, this is kind of what I'm going for. Here's my site today. These are the things that I want you to focus on. These are the things that I want to archive basically and not worry about as much promoting. What would you do? And so I kind of gave it some inspiration sites of what I liked, and then asked it to take a look at my existing one and make recommendations on how it would update it. So, and then of course I'm sure we'll change it as we actually get into the redesign, but it was great because I know it needs to be updated and I wanted to. I just don't also want to take a whole lot of time or try and be a designer because I'm not. And just see what it comes up with. And it's been great so far. Claude Code, you're just killing it.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
You just need taste nowadays. That's really all you need. You just need an ability to say, yeah, that looks good. Oh no, that's not.
Right.
And just have a guiding direction. Yeah. And don't worry about the underlying technology necessarily.
This is one of the things
it uses
too.
Tailwind. Dun dun dun.
No, it's using native CSS. I was
classic
and nesting. I was like, no Tailwind.
Classic. I love it. Okay.
Use the browser tab.
It's better. It's on brand for you. It's on brand. I like it.
It is.
All right. Well, what's making me happy this week is Firefox, and for a very specific reason. So I mentioned that I'm working with this old Mac, and I started by just trying to get an old version of macOS up and running. And what I realized, I didn't even think about this, but the newest version of Chrome does not work on older versions of macOS. The version of Safari, because Safari versions are tied, they're coupled to macOS versions. So you're also running an old Safari. So I couldn't even I was trying to download and install Node on this computer, and the Node website was so broken in Safari, I couldn't even hit the download button to get an installer to get the commands I needed to run to run it. But you know what did work? Firefox worked.
Firefox.
I downloaded Firefox.
Nice.
It downloaded fast, even on this ancient machine. It started up, and I was running the most modern Firefox on like a 12-year-old MacBook Pro, and it ran great when no other browser would. So I'm even stronger into the Firefox camp. And they didn't really even have to. I wasn't even mad at Apple or Google for not supporting an ancient Mac because, you know, they've got to move on with the times. Their teams are only so big. There's only so much they can reasonably test. So I'm not upset at them. I'm more just shocked that Firefox installed and ran okay on ancient Mac OS. It was just really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you think about Ubuntu.
Yep. Yeah. Ubuntu's next. I officially bowed out of Mac OS on this thing because there was just too many. Eventually, yeah, I couldn't install Node. I couldn't install a bunch of other stuff. So turns out Chrome was the least of my problems. I had other issues. So, but I'll give an update next week on how all that's going.
Yeah, I've got to say, like Ubuntu, if you're stuck in the mode of like, oh, it's Linux, it's going to have a terrible UI, it's going to have a terrible feel, it's going to feel like Windows but worse. It is not that. It is actually, it's really nice, really polished. It's got a really great installer, works great. You know, everything just kind of works right out of the box. It's got a browser built in. So it's really, really nice. And it's secure. Like I think they use it's the Brave stuff and all that. So they make good choices, not a lot of bloatware. So yeah, no, it's a nice distro.
I will report back and let you know.
Yeah. Excited to hear it.
All right. But I think that is our episode for this week.
Yeah.
This was a fun one. We didn't necessarily plan this out to be the like AI security / isolated execution environment episode, but you know, we try to keep you up and date on what's going on, and that is what's going on in this world right now. For better or worse, this is where we're at in the software and the front end development ecosystems, and so we try to keep you on top of that. And if you want to stay more involved with the show, our links to all of our socials are in the show notes. You can join our Discord. We've been having some actually really good conversations about AI and some of these tools in Discord this last week. So if you want to jump in on that, the link is in the show notes. But I think that is our episode for this week. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you then.
See you then.